I just got an alert that we are, so we're probably good. Okay. All right, Derek. It's all yours. Until you want it to not be. You can have it.
Oh, do we have a quorum?
We do.
Oh, yep.
Okay, perfect. Let's get started. Okay. Welcome everybody out to the UIA board meeting for February 9th. Do we have any new folks with us today? Roger?
Well, we have a new board member from Payson. Oh yeah, Lacey Smith. If you want to welcome her.
Yeah, welcome,
I'm here.
Lacey.
Thanks.
Okay, let's get started with our agenda then. So looks like we got the minutes from our December 8th board meeting to approve. I'd entertain a motion on that.
So moved. As a Brent.
Thank you, Brand. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brenda. Any further discussion on the minutes from December? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes on that. Next, we have the election of our UIA board officers for the 26th year. Roger, I always forget, do we just take a motion on that? Is that how we do that?
I mean, it's open for discussion, but you could have someone make a motion if there's, this is the board's opportunity to handle this how you want. But historically, we've had someone move and basically, make that motion to say, hey, let's have these positions filled by these people. But you're open to handle it however you want, but ultimately we do need a motion and a second and a vote on the positions of the board, whether you do them as a slate or individually. That's your choice of the format, or the board's choice.
Okay, well, I guess we'll open the floor for nominations.
Oh, I would move that we just leave the board in the order that they are currently.
I'll second that, Brenda.
Okay, we got a motion by Brenda and a second by Zach. Is there any further discussion, issues, concerns?
Could you please list the current board members,
Yeah,
positions?
Yep, I can. So Derek is the chair. That's me. Brant is the first vice chair from Centerville. Brenda, the second vice chair from Murray, and Zach is the third vice chair from Layton City.
Are all of those individuals wanting to serve again, or some of them wanting to vacate?
I'm great with it.
If Derek's it, I'm good with it too.
Brenda made the motion, so she must be good.
I'm good.
And I seconded it, so yeah, it's great.
Okay, any other concerns or questions? Thanks for your question, Mayor.
Did we have a second on that?
Yeah, Zach.
Okay, great.
Layton City seconded the motion, so. Okay, hearing no other concerns, we'll all in favor of just leaving the board the same for 2026, please say aye. Or do we need to do a roll call, Krista?
I can do roll call for you if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Zach Bloxham,
Yes.
Nate Rockwood,
Aye.
Brenda Moore,
Aye.
John Flores,
Yes.
Brent Hansen,
Yes.
Mayor Lundberg,
Aye.
Lacey Smith,
Yes.
and Derek Whaler.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for that. And I think next on the agenda is our audit presentation by Jason and Keddington Christensen. Go ahead, Jason.
Thanks, Derek. Just checking, I forgot real quick, I'm making sure our auditors are on, and they are, so that's good. I'll share my screen. Okay, hopefully you're all seeing this. And I believe you are. There we go. Here's our financial update based off our audited financial statements for fiscal year 2025. So that will be the fiscal year of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. That's the time period we're looking at here. Just some highlights to start. Our average monthly recurring revenue for UIA increased by 17.3%. And so you'll see that we're at approximately 3.8 million at the end of the year, and we were at about 3.3 million at the beginning of the year per month. So that's good revenue growth that we're seeing. The number of subscribers increased by 10%. We're now at 62,371 customers for the UIA Utopia network. This does not include any partners that Utopia may have, any partner relationships where somebody else owns the system. So that'd be like Idaho Falls, Montana, and Bountiful. Those three do not count on this number. So if Roger says a number that's a little higher than this number at times, it's because he's including all of those customers additionally. Operating revenue increased by 17.3%. So it went from 39.3 million to 46.1 million. We saw good growth there. You'll notice both average recurring revenue monthly and yearly increased by the same percentage, but number of customers were much less. That's because we did do a rate increase in October and November of last year. That's why you're seeing more revenue increase than you are customer increase. That's basically the reason. We added 31.5 million to fixed assets in the year. So that's additional fixed assets. That's gross, not net of depreciation. And we have cash reserves that are adequate to cover 0.9 years of operating expense less depreciation. Any questions about the highlight? I thought I might have heard somebody try to break in. If not, I will keep moving forward. Here's our balance sheet, a 4-year comparison, just at a really high level, what our balance sheet looks like. Things I wanted to talk about here is current assets. You'll notice from fiscal year 2022 to fiscal year 2025 have decreased significantly. That's primarily because if you look at the years fiscal year 22, 23, 24, mainly 22 and 23, we had a lot of projects going on. When there's projects going on, we fund a bond and we take the bond proceeds and put it in a construction fund. And that shows up, it's cash. So it shows up as a current asset. So as we're doing projects, our current assets are very high. It goes down as we spend that money on the projects and complete the project. So that's why our current assets have decreased. But right now they're pretty much at a level they should remain more constant. And that's what we'll see there. The biggest still to see on here is if you look at our net position, which is looked at kind of like equity on a non-governmental entity, we have gone from negative numbers to a positive number. And that's very good because there's some things I have to do in the budget that make budgeting more difficult with net position. You have to budget for a percentage increase in net to decrease a percentage increase in net position every year when you have a negative fund balance. We don't have to worry about that, hopefully here on a go forward. Moving on, here's our statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position and income statement in the private world is what this would be called. Operating revenues continue to increase. Operating expenses have increased. The primary thing making operating expenses increase is our payment to Utopia. That's primarily what's doing it. There are some additional marketing costs, but that's mainly we're looking at an increased payment to Utopia. We pay them a certain amount for each customer, each house passed, each hut. That's how payments go from UIA to Utopia, and that's what you're seeing there. And depreciation increases as that our assets increase until a portion of our assets hit their useful lives. Non-operating revenues, primarily what you see there for non-operating, that's interest income for the most part. That's what you see going through there. That's the biggest component that goes through the revenue. Bond interest and fees, that's mainly interest on our bonds and our outstanding bonds. And as we continue to increase our bonds every year, you will see interest expense go up. Interest expense, while it's going up for new bonds, is also going down because every year you make a bond payment, the next year's interest expense is less. So because you pay off more principal every year and less interest. The other big thing you'll see there is member city payments, which have gone up and down. This is primarily UIA contributing to helping make the payment back to cities at Utopia every year. So that payment goes to Utopia, and then Utopia sends a check to the cities offsetting the amount the cities are paying every year at Utopia to guarantee their bond. Last thing I like to do is, it's kind of difficult just looking at the income statement to look at a cash flow stress test and see what's gone on with our cash flow. If you look at our cash flow from operations, what I like to do is take cash received from customers or users for the year, and then subtract out cash operating expenses and bond principal payments and interest. And then add back in interest paid on capitalized interest for our bonds to kind of say, what's our cash done? If we look at just operating, what are we generating from an operating cash flow every year? And you'll notice it went from 9 million in fiscal year 2024 to 8.7 million in fiscal year 2025. And this is primarily, if you look at why this may decrease from year to year, the biggest culprit obviously is our bond principal and interest payments are going up. There are two other things that are significant going into this number, though. If you look at cash operating expenses, something that affects us there is we did have some increased marketing expenses to keep our customer numbers high. And then also we have the payment I included in these numbers, the payment from UIA to Utopia that increased by $2 million. Those are the three things those things increase more quickly than our cash flow. And I wanted to show you some examples of how bond payments can affect our cash flow. And I've got some examples here. They're not in, let's see here. I'm going to put up on my screen just some PDFs that I have. If you look at, I've got 3 examples here of cities. What we do when we do a new city project, we don't really see cash bond payments hit for the first 3 years. And the reason we don't see the cash bond payments hit for the first 3 years, we do capitalized interest knowing it's going to take us some amount of time to complete the project. So if we look here, here's Partner City 1. This is one of the cities that their bond payments started hitting in March of 2023. If you look here, actually it'd be in April 2023. The blue line here is revenues from the project. And when I say revenues from the project, this is usually the $30 fee per month paid for the infrastructure fee, and an additional half of business revenue is what ends up on these lines. We have additional funds, probably double this blue line, coming in to help us cover our operational cost every month. So this isn't all revenue coming from a city project. This is about half. We could really double this line, but when we do our projecting, we plan on those 2 revenue sources to help pay for the bond portion of what's happening with the cities. So if you look here, you'll see that in this one, our revenue grew very, very quickly at the beginning of the project. There was a time here between April of 2024 and sometime around, let's say August, where actually we weren't getting enough monthly revenue to cover the payments. But if you look from here, from March of 2023 through April 2024, we were making much more money than we needed. And so we actually expect us to get more people on at the beginning to help cover a time period when we're still growing and they're going to need that growth to make their bond payments. So that's kind of how it's planned. But these big increases in the orange end up being big hits to our monthly income, even if we have it coming in there. That's our new bond payments coming on, and that's a big drain on cash when those come on initially. I have a couple other cities I can see here. This is more like closer to what we expect a regular city to look like. And you'll notice that we plan for a time period before the bond payments hit in full, where where we have a little bit of cash accumulating, and then a time period where we need to hit our final take rate. And this is one that's approaching right now very quickly. And I would imagine by now they've increased their payments to the point that they're above where we projected them to be on a monthly basis for this one. Just so you can know some problems that may happen as this happens, just for the board's informational purpose, I've included a third one here. This is a third partner city that we did. And you'll notice their revenue significantly lagged where we expected it to. And that's because we had some permitting problems lighting up the huts in this city. And that caused a lag in revenue. And as soon as we got across a certain canal crossing that we were having trouble getting across, we lit up all of the huts in this city at one time, and their cells exploded. So that's the kind of things that we see when we're looking at what can happen and what the risks are when we're doing a new city project. Any questions on the financial statement presentation so far before I turn it over to the auditors?
No question, just like to see the upward movement. That's great.
Yeah, we all do.
Well, Jason, I would like to say it's really nice to have this information when I bring back information to the council and explain what's going on. It's one thing to show them, here's what the subscribers, look like, but it's nice to show them the financial aspects. And I appreciate these slides. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, I'll turn the time over to our auditors to give you an update on what they found.
Thanks,
And
Jason.
Ben Bailey is our auditor from Keddington Christensen. Sorry, I'll also introduce you, Ben.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, Eric. So just off the top, this was a clean audit. We didn't even have any audit adjustments, which I think last year we might have had one. So it was a pretty clean audit. There's just a few things that I have to discuss for auditing standards, which is just to remind the board that they're in charge of the financial reporting process and that this audit doesn't relieve them of that. And how we designed our audit, we had designed it to obtain reasonable rather than absolute assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement, which they were. It's on page 1 of our opinion. It says that the financial statements present fairly. So it's a clean opinion. And then in addition to that, we look at internal controls, and that's part of the supplemental report. So we do issue a report where we don't issue an opinion. It's required by government auditing standards, and it helps us to plan our procedures, and also would give us something to point out if we noticed anything in controls. The controls are great. The ones we looked at were payroll, cash receipts, cash disbursements, and the financial close. Didn't have any issues. And then the other opinion in that supplemental is for state compliance. We just look at various state compliance things to see if we notice anything that might be out of compliance or anything that we might need to report to the state. We didn't find anything. And then just about the financials, the significant accounting policies and the management estimates are in note 1. And UIA has a reliable accounting system that produces reliable financial information and sound accounting policies. The financial statement disclosures are neutral, consistent, and clear. And we didn't have any difficulties with management or anything like that. Working with Jason and his staff is always great. They always get us what we need. And I think that's pretty much it. So clean opinions, everything smooth. Are there any questions for me?
Okay, thank you, Ben. Hearing no question. Ben, did you go over state compliance? I didn't see that.
Yeah, there are no findings.
It's here. Okay, I just found it. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Ben or Jason from the board? Okay. Hearing none, I just want to take a second to thank Jason and staff and in Keddington Christensen. I worked with them, I work with them here at Brigham City. They do a great job, and good job, Jason, to you and your staff for a ton of work putting the statements together in an audit. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next agenda item, our statement of ethical behavior. Go ahead, Jason, on that.
Thank you, Derek. Just calling that up real quick. And this will be a pretty quick item, other than I don't have it opened up. Every year we do a fraud risk assessment, and if you'll remember, I think we just did it in our last board meeting. We have to do a report on where we stand on the fraud risk assessment. We're in the lowest category on the fraud risk assessment for risk right now. One of the items that it does ask for on the fraud risk assessment, and I'm sharing my screen, is a statement of ethical behavior signed by all of your employees and also signed by your board of directors. Basically, what I'm telling you is we're going to be sending out this statement of ethical behavior that's shown on this screen to all of you and we're going to probably keep bugging you until you sign it. So we can continue to sign off on that item on our fraud risk assessment that everybody signed this statement. Any questions? I think this statement will come via email to all of you.
It'll
And you
be
can
a
sign
hello
electronically.
sign it'll be a hello sign document.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Chris, are you going to send those out today?
Yes, we'll get it sent out today.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, everybody look for those and we'll get them signed. And
What was the company name again you're gonna use to send that out?
It's either hello sign or DocuSign.
Okay. That's important because I had a fraud one come through DocuSign. So, yeah. So I just wanted to know, we never open anything that we're not aware is already coming.
We'll make sure we put a title in it too, so that it shows a good title that you would be aware of.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions for Jason on this ethical behavior statement? Okay, we'll look for that. Thank you. Moving on to the financial update.
Calling that up really quickly. Am I still sharing my screen? Can somebody remind me? I don't remember if I pushed the button.
No, you're not.
No.
Okay. Well, I will start again then. There we go. Here's our financial update. When I get to December, I do a little bit more detailed look into our revenues, especially. Usually what I do is if we're looking at let's say we're looking at August and we're 2 months of the year in, I'll just say, we're 2/12 of the year done. We have 10/12 of the year left, and I'll just do a formula to say, make it all look the same as it was the prior 2 months on average and keep it the same. This month I did a little more detailed dive into where we currently stand on revenue and where I project our year end to be based off some pretty conservative estimates for year end. And if you'll see here for residential transport and business transport up here toward the top, I'm projecting it to be $602,000 above where it's budgeted to be at year end. And that's most of that money we're budgeted. If we continue to get what we received in December through the remainder of this year, we're going to be higher than budget on this number. We're already beating our budget. So we're having a good year on sales when it comes to residential transport, business transport, and fiber lease revenue. Part of that reason is because when I look at my assumptions for what we're going to do in the year, one of the things I've taken into account is we have no new cities coming on the last couple of years. We aren't actively building a city, and in the UIA specifically, we haven't been actively building a city for a couple of years. So I expect our numbers to go down. but our numbers have not gone down. Our numbers continue about the same pace they have been going. One of the reasons that they're continuing to move at this pace is our marketing is related to our marketing expense being budgeted to be about 1.2 million high. If I look at where we are on marketing expense for the year, about of that 1.2 million increase, about 750,000 of that is projected door-to-door sales commissions that we're paying because of sales that they're doing inside of UIA cities. And so we see a correlation between the marketing expense being high and the revenues being high, but really these are one-time expenses for marketing, a lot of them, and they're ongoing revenues. And I do think the revenue numbers I projected, if we have, I've been pretty conservative in the numbers I'm projecting for sales for January through the end of June. So I'm feeling pretty good about these projections, and I think everything's looking very good there. Any questions on the financial update? If not, I'll show you the financial charts here really quickly. Here's annual recurring, if you look at monthly recurring revenue. Something good to point out here, and this isn't always the case. I mean, Utopia has been this blue line on the bottom has been consistently increasing. It seems to have upticked a little bit here on Utopia if you look at what's going on, and I think that's primarily due to their Bountiful project. We're seeing customers come on very quickly in Bountiful. You look at UIA, we're still seeing good growth. I will say historically you see a little bit of flattening at certain times, and usually that's January and February. January, February traditionally are our worst months, so we'll see what happens the next couple of months. But I have seen some numbers for January, February on sales, or at least January, not February. January on sales, and it slowed, but maybe not as much as we'd seen in prior years. So we'll have to see how that translates when we see it come through on the financials. And here's our monthly revenue for UIA versus bond payments. That continues to increase here. So, like I said, that's consistent with what we're seeing on the monthly forecast and everything that I'm showing you there. I did want to bring up one issue that will probably be affecting Utopia and UIA this year, and this has to do with Utopia. This is Utopia's ledger, but this I think is going to be affecting UIA when we do the budget this year and possibly the budget revision this year toward the end of the fiscal year. This bottom line here is HVAC maintenance cost. And if you look, 23, 24, and 25 actuals they were staying pretty steady at about 500,000 a year. This year, we're seeing a spike in maintenance costs for air conditioners. We know that of this, it's projected to go from about 500,000 to 1.2 million. We know that probably about 300,000 of this amount, 300, maybe 350, I think it's like 320, 300,000 or so of this amount is because we're seeing some more maintenance costs with the aging of air conditioners. And we're also finding that with our growth, there are some huts that are getting so many switches in them that the heat's getting worse, and we have to go and buy a new condenser and put it in there. New condensers can cost $20,000 or $25,000 when we're looking at them, because we're going to bigger ones when we're doing it. So we're seeing some increased costs there. And then if you look at the blue line here, which is hopefully showing up blue, the middle line here in the middle, it's relocate and maintenance cost. We saw a big increase in 2024 in that cost, and we kind of hoped we saw that it was a couple one-time projects that were coming through, and they were primarily due to relocations. There is some maintenance increases going on as we get more customers and things, but we're seeing a lot of relocation cost in the cities that we're at, and these relocations can be very expensive, and if you require us to do a relocation in your city, it's probably going to hit this line, and it can be significant to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of your relocations in the cities. So that line's increased in 2024. And then after we did the budget for this year, we noticed it did it again for 2025. and we're projecting it to be 2026, and we're expecting that on a go forward. The green line's just the combination of the two. The reason I bring this up is this isn't tracking with increased customers. This is going up more quickly than increased number of customers. And we're probably going to be recommending an increase in rates paid from UIA to Utopia to help cover this cost, because this is caused by the networks that UIA is putting in. That's probably something that we will be doing sometime here in the next few months. And I wanted to make you aware that this is what would be driving that request when it comes through.
Jason, just a quick question. So relocation, like we have an overhead line and we're doing a road project and have to move it to go underground. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, I will say I'm not sure that that's the biggest thing, though. Sometimes there will be something underground, and some sort of road or other project may cause us to move it. If Aaron's on, he probably could give a better answer there than me. That's the high level that I understand. Aaron, am I correct in how I stated that?
Yes. Yeah, they're basically where there's road changes, electrical going from overhead to underground, or from road widening, things like that.
Maybe just a quick question for you, Roger. I would assume some of that's obviously paid for by new development or a new developer. I guess we're doing a good job making sure that Utopia is not just paying for all those because we're Utopia cities.
Yeah, there's a mix. I mean, some of them are reimbursable, some of them are not. I think it's been skewing towards not, unfortunately, but obviously when there is the opportunity to get a developer or UDOT or whoever's incurring, us with that change, if we can recover the cost, we go after it. And some of them are damages, right? Like, I don't know if that is that in this category, Jason, or damage?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is all damage too. And we do go after contractors on it, but frankly, that contractors aren't fun to go after. We're constantly messing around with that and making efforts.
So yeah, we are constantly billing contractors for damages when they cause it, but there's vandalism that a lot of times we can't track down. There's just a lot of different things that hit this line. So it's fair to say that there's some of them are recoverable and some of them are not.
Okay, thank you.
I also was going to bring up the maintenance that I'm projecting for this year for HVAC. I think there's a good chance I'm projecting high. That's what I'm really hoping, that we've done a lot of the maintenance that we needed to earlier in the year, especially with the good weather. I'm surprised how much I'm finding good weather has increased some of our costs at Utopia, especially for locates. And it possibly could be for HVAC because they could still get to the HVAC. It's a good time for them to do it. So I'm hoping some of that's front loaded, but time's going to tell for sure. It's a lot of transactions. I will say that. I've looked through them and it's many transactions. Any other questions?
Okay, hearing none, thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Good work on that. Next is our update from Roger.
All right. I always think this is the fun stuff because I try to share the good news of what's going on out there. I encourage you all to look at the charts. I'll go ahead and share my screen here with, it's usually late in the packet. This is the revenue, of course. Revenue is good. You go past the revenue, and that's where we get into our subscriber numbers. At the beginning of the year, though, it's kind of nice to point back and say, how did we do last year? If you were to do the math on year-over-year growth across all of the cities and partnerships and everything that's going on out there, you'll see the total number is 81,710 subscribers from the beginning of the month. The year before that was 10,000 less. Meaning we added, it was 10,484 net growth for the system, which is phenomenal. You think about this, we've been at this since 2002, when Utopia was created. We really started building in 2004. So, 21, 22 years in, and to see, we're 81,000, you just kind of do math and say, hey, yeah, we're definitely accelerating, right? Things have been very, very busy. It's a very good year. We're not only increasing our revenues and financial position, but we're benefiting communities, right? Each one of these is a home that's getting a better service. They're able to do education, do remote work. They're saving money on their bill. There's so many benefits that come from every connection that we install. So it's very exciting when we connect one home, and when we connect 10,000 in a year. That's phenomenal. Although that's businesses and homes in that number. I wanted to draw attention to another kind of interesting announcement that we've had. Every year, the Utah Education Network, they manage the circuits and services for schools, libraries, Head Starts, things like that. The reason they do that is because they're good at administering through programs that reimburse from the federal government. And so they manage the bidding process. As much as we feel like, hey, we're like-minded, we help, we love each other. At the end of the day, they do make us be competitive with the services. And we lose some, we win some. But this year was one of their larger awards. They awarded about 550 sites. Sometimes it's I say sites, maybe I should just call that services, because sometimes there's multiple services per location. Of the awards, we won 277 of them, meaning we actually won more circuits than everyone else combined, which was amazing. And that's companies like Lumen and Zayo and Centricom and others. And so this was a phenomenal year for us. Obviously, our partnership with UIN is very important, and they're a big source of revenue. But to be the best option for our schools and libraries and universities, we love that. If we're saving them money, that's more money they have for paying, for materials, teachers, the resources that they need. Where schools are available in our cities, you compare the pricing they're paying compared to more rural parts of Utah, where it's not an exaggeration saying that they're getting gouged. Constantly, UIN is hoping that we can reach more schools for them. At the same time, we're not doing it at a loss. They are a very profitable partnership for us. So it's very mutually beneficial when we get these awards from UIN. So we're very excited. That's a big win for Utopia and all of our cities and school systems, districts, all those out there. So that was a really exciting thing that just came in this last month. I want to provide a quick little update on our friends in California. We have mentioned them a few times, so they're just as a quick little recap. There is a Utopia-like entity in California called the Golden State Connect Authority. It's a joint powers authority out there made up of 40 counties. We had been talking about, we have an agreement with them for kind of consulting and project management. And just kind of helping them with their project. They're marketing that as Golden State Fiber, but they had secured $285 million in combination of grant money and bond proceeds to build in their communities. And those projects are starting to go out to bid to contractors. Our team is, helping with some of this. We don't have staff in California or anything like that, but we are able to do the things that we do here, but to support them, but in a way that we get revenue from those customers and from the project fund. And it does kind of expand the pie for our providers and increases our economy of scale. Again, this is another partnership that isn't a hit to us. We're not obligated to any of the revenues or financing into that project, but we do receive revenue we will, it's just starting. But this is just the first phase for them. They expect this to get much bigger. And so we're happy to kind of lend them a hand in the sense of doing the things that we do, like NOC services, network engineering, things like that. The size of the project is pretty big in the sense we do expect to add some positions to support it, but it would all be well within the budget of revenues that we're anticipating receiving from the project. So that it still ends up being profitable to us. But we're excited to see them finally get going on this. It's been something they've been talking about or working on for about 5 years now. So we'll probably start having groundbreakings and things like that out there in California. And you're like, California's so big, where is this happening? Of their 40 counties, there's 7 project areas in 6 of the counties, areas that you might have heard of. Some of these are rural areas, but Mammoth Lakes, the town of Mammoth Lakes is one of them that's included, and other areas in that county, which is Mono County. There's project areas in Alameda County, Glenn County, Tehama County. I don't know, there's 6 of them. So, but yeah, we're excited to see that kind of get some legs. So anyways, there's a lot of stuff going on, and we continue to grow and expand our footprint here in Utah with new developments in our own cities. You keep putting more homes in your cities. That is great. Yeah, it's all been great. I think this is in many ways a record year for us, and we're looking forward to 2026. Just as this kind of fun note for me personally, this is my 10-year anniversary as executive director here. So it doesn't feel like 10 years. It's gone really quick, but it's been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed it, and looking forward to a lot more with Utopia. So anyways, that's my network update for you. Any questions on any of that?
Thank you, Roger. Great work. Congratulations on 10 years. That's a long time. So any other questions for Roger? And Lacey, real quick, just let her, what do you do for Payson City so we know?
I'm a new member of the council.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I'm excited. So
Great. Okay, is there anything else from anybody today? Okay, hearing none. I just want to take 2 seconds, thank Roger, your team, everything you guys are doing. Things are going great, and I appreciate it. I know we all do. So if nothing else, we'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thanks, Brant. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.